Good evening, sports zonians. How's everybody doing out there tonight? I am Mike Aglialoro. I am your host for this is Sports Zone. Coming to you live like we do each and every week here via the I-95 Sports and Entertainment Radio Network. We got a good show for you tonight. We should be joined by both Dave Hastings and Eric Chesler in a matter of moments. Might be a little late. Apparently, there's some sort of tornado warning going on in Jersey right now, which is where they are both from. So hopefully they are okay and make it in tonight. We have ourselves a good show. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We got some baseball going on. So we got when we came on last week, the Mets had just gotten swept by the Miami Marlins. They had the big press conference and everything on Monday before their game, first game against the Nationals. We found out that Yoenis Cespedes stepped in some sort of hole and had multiple fractures in his ankle. He's done for the season, and you kind of felt like the season's starting to come off the rails. Here we are right now, a week later, and I will say this: since that game happened, the Mets have gone 6-2. They swept the Nationals in a 4-game series. A lot of wins in their final at bat, which is always a good thing. Then you get to the weekend, they're taken out of the lowly Tigers. They get destroyed on Friday, and then they won two pretty close games over the weekend, which is nice. And then last night they get beat by the Dodgers, definitely a better team. So, and Syndergaard looked terrible on Friday. DeGrom did not look great on Monday. I mean, what's the biggest problem with this team right now? It's not entirely the offense. It's definitely the fact that the two guys you were counting on to be two of the top pitchers in baseball for you. As much as I love DeGrom and Syndergaard, neither are performing anywhere close to the way you thought they were going to, the way the season was going to come in. And there's no way this team is anything more than a 500 team if they're going to do that. I mean, even with that, they may not be that much better than a 500 team. Robinson Cano, of course. The big story last weekend was that he was slacking around the bases, not running hard to first base. A couple times, I think it was Friday and Sunday, he had those two instances. So then it was either last Tuesday or last Wednesday, he hustles and then he strains a quad muscle. So he's on the injured list now. And I'll tell you this, while I'm waiting for Eric and Dave to get here, one thing we have not talked about is the fact that the Major League Baseball changed the terming of the disabled list from the disabled list to the injured list. But everybody seemed to have a big deal, a lot to say about it because Major League Baseball made such a big deal of saying something like, well, disabled people were upset at us for using the phrase, so we're going to change it to the injured list. Why would you even admit to that? Why wouldn't you just come out and say, listen, every other sport calls it the injured list. We are literally the only sport in the world that calls it the disabled list. Everybody else calls it the injured list. So we're going to call it the injured list too. If you just said that, nobody would have said anything. But with that, we're going to bring Dave Hastings in tonight. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
I've had better days, Mike. I've had better days, but I'm pushing through.
Yeah, well, we hope you feel better, yes. So I will let you start this off. What stuck out there? I know it's been a couple weeks since you've been on the show. You were not with us last week. So what stuck out to you? Anything you would like to talk about today?
Well, I mean, so we don't waste you and Eric's time about it. I'll just say that I was kind of pretty disappointed and kind of almost confused at the end of the series finale for Game of Thrones.
Tell me you got to listen to the audio from last week's show.
No, I did not get a chance to really do anything I've wanted to do the last week or so. But
Gotcha. You have to listen to this if you ever got a chance, because Eric, like he has every time, he was killing me with it. My mother was actually in the chat room. She was listening to because Eric has made a fan out of my mother when it comes to his rants and everything. The thing he said about the horse a couple weeks ago, that had her dying. He said this one thing that I'm still laughing about a week later, where what Jon Snow's at the wall, say he sees ghosts, so he pets ghosts, and it was something to the effect of, they called everybody back in so they could reshoot that scene. So it's like, hey, we need to get everybody back in so you can pet this dog before everybody loses their shit. It was hysterical. I'm not doing it justice, but it's one of those things that it's still killing me. But
it was the perfect Eric Tresler line.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's basically what we said last week. We were all disappointed. And I'll tell you what, since you brought that up, I will put the question to you. Well, two questions I kind of brought up. More disappointing final season, Sopranos or Game of Thrones?
Never watched Sopranos, so I can't tell you that one.
You live in Jersey, though.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have HBO when Sopranos was popular, and by the time I got it, it was the big craze was Entourage, and I didn't even watch. I watched like 4 seasons of that, and it just got repetitive to me, so I stopped watching.
Yeah, Entourage is good, but I definitely get that repetitiveness towards the end. But I'll tell you this, I still say Sopranos is my more disappointing final season. If you ever get a chance, though, the first 2 seasons of Sopranos are 2 of the greatest seasons of any television show you will ever see in your entire life. And then the rest of it is more subjective, in my opinion. But, okay. Favorite series finales of all time?
Oh. I got it. I mean, the first one that literally comes to my mind, the first one is 24.
I never saw that show.
I thought, I mean, kind of sticks with the theme of repetitive. I mean, after 7 seasons, like, even though you love the show, you're just like, all right, I mean, all right, terrorists are going to destroy this or blow this up or kill this, and then this guy gets caught, whatever. Like, it did get repetitive after a while, but the way they sent, the main character, Kiefer Sutherland's Jack Bauer, the way they sent him off, I thought was just perfect. I didn't think you could do a better job. I thought it was a nice nod to fans as well. So that would be the first one that comes to my mind. I feel like a lot of the shows I've always liked tend to have unfinished business.
Okay.
Where they leave things hanging. Like, I was a huge fan of that show, Heroes, and like, I felt like they could have did so much with that show, and they just stopped after 3 seasons, and you were just like, "What? Oh my god!"
It was actually 4 because I actually watched that show too. I didn't watch it when it aired, but I had a sinus infection one weekend, so I wound up watching the entire series. It was all right. It was all right. I thought it fell off after the first season. Truthfully, it was a good series finale. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, 24 is the first show that comes to my mind. I mean, I thought, like Friends, I thought they did a nice little send off. Seinfeld was a great series ender.
You might be the only person I've ever talked to who called the Seinfeld series finale great.
I don't know if I'll say great, but I thought it was a cool little thing to end with them all sitting in a jail cell.
Yeah, we actually brought that one up last week. Neither one of us really disliked it, but it was fine. It was fine.
But yeah, no, Game of Thrones, man, I don't know. I just expected so much more. I mean, to me, though, I love the fact that everybody likes the idea of Arya Goes West as a spinoff. I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, don't bring that up to Eric. Eric made it pretty clear he's done with Game of Thrones. But I'm with you on that one, though. I would like to see that as a spinoff. Yeah. I'm gonna bring up one we didn't bring up last week, and I'm gonna bring it up because I know you watched the show. And it's a series finale. I really liked the way they did it. What did you think of the Sons of Anarchy finale?
You know what? You know what, Mike?
Yeah.
I still to this day have never watched the final episode.
Are you kidding?
I just can't watch Jax die. I just don't want to do it.
Dude, it was really well done. It was really well done. I really liked the way. But you saw him kill Gemma, right?
Oh yeah, no, I saw every episode up until the last.
I really like the way they did it, and the fact that I mean, I'm not going to tell you how it happened, but because
Well, he drives right into like an 18-wheeler or something.
Yeah, but the fact that here's the thing, not just a fan of Sons of Anarchy, I am a fan of the Shield, and you know, Vic Mackey was the guy driving the truck.
Oh, was he really? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Michael Chiklis was driving the truck because he came in. He had that cameo in, I think it was the second to last episode where he's talking to Gemma. And here's the deal. The dude who created Sons of Anarchy started out as a writer on The Shield. So they brought so many actors from The Shield in throughout there. From Venus Van Dam with Shane Vendrell on The Shield. Curtis LeMassey's character. I don't know. Did you watch The Shield?
I watched. That was the show where I was kind of disappointed in how they ended it.
Well, here's the thing, and I said this last week because Eric brought that up. That final season is one of the greatest final seasons I've ever seen of any show in my entire life. So by the time they got to the finale, yes, I thought the finale was a bit of a disappointment. They had nowhere to go, though. There were so many fantastic episodes in that final season that I was okay with a somewhat disappointing final episode.
Shield is actually the only show where I actually own the series. Like I bought every season on DVD.
One of my all-time favorite shows.
Yeah,
but,
I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah, when you got to those last couple episodes and they brought Michael Chiklis into that show, that killed me. And I didn't even think about it until after the episode. The fact that you had the main character from The Shield killing off the main character from Sons of Anarchy, beautiful, beautiful, poetic. I loved it. I thought it was great. But
I didn't know he was the one driving it, but the person that ruined it for me, I don't think they ever watched The Shield, so that would explain why they didn't say that to me.
Gotcha. Yeah,
like, literally called me the morning the next day of the episode. I didn't get to watch that night, and first words on the phone were, "Can you believe they drove Jax right into an 18-wheeler?" I'm like, "Shut the!" And yeah. I was so pissed. I just never watched it.
Yeah, but, you know, I get where you're coming from on that, but if you watch the episode and you see everything leading up to that, I wasn't happy that that's the way they chose to do it, but it fit the story they were telling. And,
that I won't argue with.
Yeah, in many ways, like, obviously I would have liked to see Jax tell him live, but given everything that happened and the fact that he chose to do it, I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was very well done. So I would definitely recommend that final
episode. One day I'll sit down and watch it. Maybe I'll just rewatch the whole series and actually watch that episode.
There you go. Everything leading up to that, you would enjoy because he chose to do it after he settled all family ties, and the way he does it. He goes out like Jax Teller, man. Simple as that. That's the way he wanted to go out. Anyway, I could talk about that show forever, though. Even though you know it's funny. Game of Thrones, Sons of Anarchy. I don't think I'd put either of them in my top 10. Like honestly, I don't even think Game of Thrones. I definitely didn't look at it as a top 10 show before the season started. Now even more so. Sons of Anarchy. I loved that show. I don't think it would be a top 10 show for me. I thought it was a very good show. Don't know if it would make my top 10.
I mean, for the amount of lack of shows I've ever actually gotten into, it probably would, just because I don't know if I could name 10 shows.
There you go. All right. Sports related, because I got something I want to bring up in a little while. But it's very outside the box from what we normally talk about. So I want to give you guys kind of the floor if you have anything like really pressing you would like to talk about to start off with that, and then we'll go with my outside the box thing in a little while.
I mean, you got, obviously now we got Golden State, Toronto, but I think what Toronto was able to do to swing the series, and the way Kawhi Leonard's played just kind of reminds you of how good he really was and
Mm.
is. Kind of going back to something me and you kind of disagreed on about 2 weeks ago of, where I held Giannis compared to yourself, and
Mm.
the flaws in his game that you were pointing out really shined, and without the other players on this team stepping up, it was too much for him. And when Toronto adjusted and put Kawhi on Giannis, they had the confidence to be able to play him one-on-one without worrying about, foul trouble or, giving up easy buckets. And it completely swung the series. And I think for how shocked I was Toronto fired their coach at the end of last season, to be able to make the adjustments that they made throughout the series to be able to come back from down 2-0. And considering they almost lost game 3, goes to double overtime, I think that really kind of you got to give credit to the coaching as well, just for making the necessary adjustments throughout the series. So, I mean, that was impressive. But look, like we've said since before the season tipped off, who's going to be Golden State's sacrificial lamb? Well, guess what? It's going to be Toronto. Maybe they win. Maybe they win a game, possibly 2. But I don't see them. I don't see Golden State letting this go more than 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like you mentioned, I did point out the flaws in his game a couple weeks ago. I was rooting for the Bucks to win, though, so I got to give. You might have said it too, but I know my cousin definitely did. Like, I don't see him in the chat room tonight, but I got to give cousin Dave a little shout out because he's the one who predicted Toronto would make the finals. So I give him credit on that one. I definitely did not think they were going to win. So, I mean, like you said, everybody who's forgotten who Kawhi Leonard is and what he's capable of, you definitely see it on full display here. And I'll say this. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell Golden State loses this series with Durant, without Durant. But what should make this very interesting is the fact that this is the first time Kawhi's facing the Warriors in the playoffs since that one series where he took the shot, he came down on Zaza's leg and was out for the series, right?
You are 100% correct.
I don't think he's forgotten that one. And
I don't doubt he goes into this series with a little chip on his shoulder for that, but Zaza is not even on the team.
Yeah, but you are correct, but it's still the Warriors, though. You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, when he went out of that, when he left that game, there was like 11 or 10, 11 minutes left in the third quarter. San Antonio was up 21 points.
Yeah.
Golden State comes back, wins that game, ends up sweeping San Antonio, and Kawhi can't even play if he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think he knows he has – I don't think he doubts his ability, but I think the one thing that helped them with that 20-point lead wasn't just Kawhi. It was also the coaching of Popovich, the experience of Parker and Ginobili and Duncan. You gotta keep in mind that this team. This is the farthest Toronto's ever gone as a franchise. Period. We've all seen Kyle Lowry shrink in moments, and I think you saw him shine a little bit more in games 5 and 6 against Milwaukee, because all of a sudden he realized that compared to DeRozan and him splitting the weight and splitting the 50-50 of carrying that team, he's like, shit, I can give 70 to Kawhi and I'll take 30 and I'm good. And
True.
I think that might have something to do with him having the ability to play a little bit better. But my bar for him is so low when it comes down to the bigger the game. So until he proves me wrong, I'm going to continue to believe that. But yeah, I mean, and you got to think about it, man. The moves they made, you got to give props to their GM. I mean, you trade DeRozan, who was beloved in Toronto.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, he's not considered one of the best general managers in the league for no reason. So, but go right ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, you trade DeRozan, who's loved by that city and by that team, and by Lowry, your other superstar. You get Kawhi. All right, obviously, nobody thought you downgraded, but still, I mean, what DeRozan's meant to that team. Then you you fire your coach who just got you to the Eastern semis the last year and has had you in the playoffs for years and coming off your best record ever as a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a trade with some of the young talent that you've built up over the years that we're starting to develop to add some veteran leadership with Gasol. And, the guys made gamble after gamble after gamble going into this year, and he at least has his team in the finals. I mean, so we all knew Golden State and then everybody else. It's kind of like when you say Patriots or the field. I think it's the same idea when you look at the NBA, Golden State or the field. And, I think props to him for making those moves. And look, Toronto with Kawhi are just definitely a better team than they were with DeRozan. And it also helps LeBron's in the West and not even in the playoffs.
No, definitely. I'm gonna say Kawhi wills them to 2 games. I think he gets them to 2 games because, as you pointed out, they had that 20-point lead. Yeah, you had a lot of the veteran influence there, and you had Popovich and everything. But if you remember, Parker's kind of been a shell of himself the last few years, and he definitely was during that series. Duncan, you was seeing the age. Kawhi really was the superstar face of that team, and he definitely showed it on the court. And I always wondered what would have happened if he didn't get hurt during that series. And I know damn well he's been wondering that. So I think at the very least you see 2 games, and I'm not gonna say they push it to 7. I'm just saying Kawhi's gonna come in with something to prove. Definitely gonna do it. But I've got to ask this: are you sick of Drake yet? Because I don't understand why they allow him to come on the
court. Yeah. To easily answer your question, yeah. I mean, they let him there because he's from Toronto, and he's maybe one of the most famous people to ever come out of Toronto. So
yeah, but it's still, to me, it's a spectator coming onto the court. I don't care if some people like his music. It's still, you wouldn't let anybody else, like you and me, if we walked on the court like that, we'd be punched in the face and thrown out.
Well, we're also not worth millions of dollars and one of the most famous faces in the world. So,
which I agree with, but again, you're still a spectator.
Agreed. I mean, look, but come on, dude, you're a fucking Knicks fan, man. We can go back to Spike Lee. He wasn't.
He never came up.
Wait. Let me finish. He wasn't as bad as Drake is. But let's be honest, he got on that court once or twice, and a lot of times it was to get into the other team's face. So, just saying.
I don't ever remember him coming on the court the way Drake did, but I will give you that, sir. But let's bring Eric Tressler into the discussion here because Eric Tressler is with us tonight. How you doing, sir?
I'm battling the storm, but I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're all right, man. We're all right. We got Dave here too. So I will put it to Eric because we're talking a little basketball here. We were talking a little bit about Raptors going against the Warriors. I think we all know who's going to win. Are you sick of Drake yet?
No, I'm all before Drake. He's going to curse Toronto in the day. They're going to get swept. It's not going to matter. Drake's team's still not going to win anyway. So it's still the Drake curse. So, I'm good. Let him party it up during the loss. All he wants. I'm cool with it, whatever. I like how it got in the Bucks' head, I'll tell you that. If I were him, I would keep doing it, just like Spike Lee used to do with the Knicks years ago.
Thank you, Eric.
There you go. Now, I don't know if he did it for this series, but did I hear something about in the Philadelphia series, because of the Drake curse, he was wearing 76ers gear instead of Raptors gear? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it was like shorts, maybe.
Okay. Dave, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't even think it was at an actual game, though. I think it was out one night in town. I don't know, something like
that. Okay. Fair enough. So, Eric, you are braving the storm. Both you guys are braving the storm, which I guess is pretty heavy in Jersey because we don't really have anything here in New York, knock on wood. But
it's coming your way. They just announced it a couple minutes ago. I think
Fantastic. All right. So as I said to Dave, I have something I want to bring up that is totally outside the box from what we normally talk about here. So I want to save that. I want to give you the chance. what would you like to talk about? What stuck out to you this week, sir?
I don't know. It's kind of a outside of the NHL, going on right now. They're in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm kind of a little into that. Although I really not looking forward to another Boston championship. I can tell you that.
How about
That's
that?
kind of what's caught my attention this week. More so than the basketball, because the basketball is just going to be predictable. The basketball is boring at this point. It's a foregone conclusion. Just give them the trophy already. Call it a day.
Well, let's stick with that for a second, because can anybody ever remember a time where a specific city, their sports team won 3 consecutive major championships? Because that could happen right now, because you got the Red Sox, the Patriots, and now the Bruins. I can never remember that happening in my lifetime.
No, and I'm tired of it too. I'm not even a fan of New York teams that have rivalries with Massachusetts teams, and I'm sick and tired of Boston winning freaking championships. I really am. I saw the Blues up by 1 last night, 1-0 early on. It's like, all right, come on, go up 2-0, and Boston rallies off 4 goals to win 4-2. Like, come on. I mean, you just got to be kidding me, man. I mean, Boston's just really good. There's no other way to put it. I mean, but no, I'm tired of Boston winning championships and them getting parades and screw that crap.
Eric?
No, I concur with Dave. I'm over it. I'm over Boston. Give me some other champions at this point. But again, I'm the same guy who will sit here and tell you what the Yankees win the championship every year. So I mean, guess when it's your team, you don't mind the winning so much. You kind of enjoy it. Guess we're just kind of sore losers, all of us at this point, a little bit. And where our teams are winning those championships, I'm just gonna call it like it is. I'm a little sore,
a little bitter.
Yeah, but good things are happening. Teams are on the rise, so I think.
Speak for yourself.
No, listen, I think we're all rooting for the Blues, but we'll see what happens. I just think that we should be, and everybody should be paying more attention to the NHL, where it's at least a little more fun, a little more action.
I will say this though, it is impressive to me that all 3 of their sports teams can come together and win championships back to back to back. That's impressive. And I get what we're saying. We're sick of Boston and everything. Yeah, okay. I don't care what city's doing it. If they're able to do it, that is some impressive stuff, and you got to give credit to all the stars aligning at the right time. So that's what I'll say on that. But I'll say this too. It was a pretty sad weekend for sports figures in general, because Bill Buckner died yesterday, and then the name is escaping me. Somebody else died over the weekend too. Maybe you guys can help me out and remind me. Freaking Bart Starr died. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know he was still alive, but he died a couple days ago. And I wanted to mention that real quick. Did you guys have any thoughts on those? Dave, we can start with you.
I mean, from what I hear, Bart Starr was an amazing person, an amazing guy, but screw him. He beat the Cowboys in the first ever Super Bowl. So, that's that. Outside of that, though, I hear he's an amazing person. But when it comes down to my football life, he denied me from being able to say Dallas already had 6 championships by this point in my life. So, other than that, in all seriousness, though, he supposedly was an amazing person, did a lot for his community. And just was a good old old-fashioned good American. And Buckner, I mean, guy played from what, the 70s to the 90s or something like that. I think he played in 3 different, one of like a handful of players that play in 3 different decades.
You might be right. I think you're right on that one.
Obviously, is considered by many the reason the Mets won their World Series, but obviously we know a lot more went into that than just that one play.
Well said.
But I was listening to Buster Olney talk about him this morning, and from what he was saying, like at that point of his career, he really shouldn't even have been in the game in that moment. Apparently he had really bad ankle issues with both ankles and whatever. But Hall of Fame baseball, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's all based on when you were raised and how you look at the sport. So for me, it's sad to see people that have loved ones be gone. But obviously, those are really the thoughts that come to my mind.
He played from 1969 to 1990. So there you go. And here's something I didn't know. He actually ended his career with Boston too. He ended it in 1990 with Boston, which I did not know. So, Eric, what you got?
2,700 hits. He had over 2,700 hits. That's a lot of hits, but I think like a 282 batting average. I mean, he was a borderline Hall of Famer. Had a really good career. But he's going to live in infamy because of what happened. And, as sad as it is. But, I think the one story I take away from it is after that game, because there were errors by other players. There were things that could have, the game could have went a different way. And he shouldered all that blame, and he stood there and answered every reporter's question and took it on the chin and took it like his loss. He did that. He took all the deflection. He didn't put any of it on his teammates. He accepted that, and I thought that was pretty pretty stand-up guy for that. Barstar, I mean, 5 championships, 2, I guess, Super Bowl championships.
Mm-hmm.
But I know he won a couple times before that. I think he won, 5 times in the 50s or 5 times in the 60s.
Yeah,
they won the championship.
Yeah, I'll check on that.
Some of that nature. But, fantastic career and really helped, dominate the early part of the NFL. So, great player, Hall of Famer, and he'll be missed especially in the Green Bay community. I know my father-in-law, he's a big Green Bay fan and has his autograph. I think he may have even met him. I'm not sure, but it's loss for them. But listen, they're a big loss all around the sports world with both of them. But they're gonna live in infamy just like Barstar.
Well, unfortunately, for vastly different reasons, but I give you that. You are correct, sir. 5-time NFL champion, 1961, 1962, 1965, and then the 2 Super Bowl champions. MVP of both Super Bowls, 4-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro in 66, 3-time second-team All-Pro, MVP of the NFL in 1966. 5-time NFL passer rating leader, and a member of the 1960s NFL All-Decade Team, and of course the Packers Hall of Fame. So yeah, definitely an impressive career on that one. I'll say this about Buckner. Dave, like you said, you guys both said, yes, his moment is thought of as the reason why the Mets won the World Series. We know there was a lot more reasons that they won the World Series. That happened in Game 6, for God's sakes. It was still a whole other game. And I've always thought it was such a shame that something like that happened to a guy like Buckner. Like, I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about him as a person, but to have something like that haunt you and overshadow your career and your life for as long as it did him, that's terrible. That's a terrible way to end your career, basically. And I'm sure you guys have seen the video of the interview that took place, I guess, a few days before that game, where Buckner basically calls his shot and say, you don't want to be the guy remembered for letting the ground ball go between your legs and cost your team the World Series, or something like that. That is basically exactly what happened. He called that shot in an interview about 3 or 4 days before the World Series, or before Game 6, I should say. So that's terrible. That stuck with him. The moment I always remember was, and I can't remember what year it was, the moment he finally comes back to Boston, because he stayed away from Fenway Park for a long time after that. And he came back to Fenway Park, I want to say it was after the Red Sox won the 04 World Series. And he comes back, and the ovation he gets coming back to Fenway, and the tears in his eyes and the way he felt, that was such a great moment to see. And I think I saw that in the documentary that ESPN did about Steve Bartman. I think it was called Chasing Hell or Catching Hell, I think it was called. That moment was a great moment to see. If you haven't seen that, I think it's one of the 30 parties. That's a great documentary to see. So, any final thoughts from you guys, Dave?
We can keep them moving.
Okay. Eric?
No, keep it moving.
Okay. All right. So I want to bring up something about a subject we don't normally talk about on the show at all. I want to talk a little bit about pro wrestling. We have not talked pro wrestling on this show since, Eric, I think it was the week you were on your honeymoon, and me and Dave were talking about the John Oliver segment that happened. And we were talking about, because I know, Dave, I believe the main thing we talked about was the fact that wrestlers are considered independent contractors. And would WWE ever decide to change anything? We never really followed up on it. Well, I want to talk about pro wrestling because something happened this weekend that I got to see on Saturday night. To me, it was kind of a dead sports weekend for the most part. So All Elite Wrestling, which is a brand new wrestling company that was founded in January. It is being funded by Tony Khan, who is the son of Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, spearheaded by four of the biggest names in independent wrestling across the world right now. Cody Rhodes, son of Dusty Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Matt and Dick Jackson, and Kenny Omega. They have guys like Chris Jericho, who's, if you're familiar with WWE, you know that name. They held their first pay-per-view Saturday night, and I don't know if you guys got to see it. I saw it. I thought it was a great pay-per-view. And the reason why I bring this up is because WWE, I know all of us at one point or another have said that we were wrestling fans. And for whatever reason, none of us watched the show anymore because WWE has gotten very stale, out of date, all this stuff. And now you got something coming in from out of left field that could stand to change the entire industry within the next few years. They have a television deal signed with TNT. It's going to be the first time wrestling is on the Turner Broadcast Networks since WCW closed its doors in 2001. And this is something that I'm very excited and very looking forward to, and I think it could be an amazing thing for the wrestling world at large, and maybe by contrast the sports world too, because they have said that they want their product to be a little more sports-based, more realistic as opposed to what goes on in WWE, where it doesn't seem like wins and losses really mean anything. You know, it's predetermined, but a little realism never hurt anybody. So I wanted to bring that up, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts. Eric, I want to start with you because I know you were a little bit more of a wrestling fan than Dave was. Have you heard of All Elite Wrestling?
I definitely have not. I have not heard anything about it. Yeah, at all, actually. It is the first, I mean, it sounds like they have some decent names behind it, but is it gonna fail? Is it gonna be another ECW? Is it gonna be another? You know, there are other ones that have come before this. So I mean, everybody says they're gonna be the ones to change the game, and you know, are they really gonna change the game though? That's the thing. And even though I think the WWE has gone, you know, in a different direction, and you know, recent years, I haven't watched as much as I did, you know, when I was younger. And, you know, I was a Stone Cold fan. I was, you know, a Rock fan, a Hulk Hogan fan as a kid. Really got me into wrestling. But I haven't heard of this, but maybe it's something. Maybe it's a shake-up. You know, like you said, things do get stale after a while. So maybe this is the shot in the arm that the industry needs to make some kind of change. I just think that eventually the WWE is so big that they'll just adapt to whatever that next change is and be able to market it and produce it better than whatever new, smaller company comes out. It's probably not as well funded as WWE.
Well, I mean, when you've been around for as long as WWE is, obviously nothing's going to be as well funded as that. But again, they're being backed by Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That may not mean a lot to us, but he's actually a pretty successful businessman. I believe he owns one of the soccer teams in England or something like that. And to listen to Tony Khan talk, he's a weird looking dude. I'm not gonna lie. He looks like a Poindexter type dude. Looks like a nerdy dude. He's actually a wrestling fan, though. So to see someone with deep pockets who actually has a love for the business, and that's your money guy, that's a step in the right direction. And that's why I would definitely give this one. I love these.
Here's what I'm going to ask you.
Go ahead.
I got one question for you.
Sure.
Which lasts longer? And Dave, you can answer this one too. Which lasts longer?
I know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Is it going to be this All Elite Wrestling, the new wrestling gig Mike's talking about, or is it going to be the XFL?
Yeah.
Which is lasting longer? Which are you going to see on television longer? Go.
If you put the gun to my head between those two choices, I still believe the XFL has a shot. I'm going to say All Elite Wrestling, though. I think we're seeing something. I think we're seeing the birth of something that has a legitimate shot to be around for a really long time. The wrestling industry has needed a strong number 2 in terms of competition to WWE since WCW went out of business. And from what I saw on Saturday night, this could be it. This could legitimately be it. Dave?
Yeah, I'm going XFL. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about with this new wrestling league. So,
let me ask you something though, because let's delve into your wrestling background a little bit here. Because I know you said the last time we talked about this, you said you were a fan during the Hulk Hogan days, during the NWO days. I didn't even know that you were a fan during the NWO days. I was very surprised by that. You hear something that is an alternative to what WWE does, could be a little more reality-based, a little more adult than what you see WWE do, but you still, you know some of the names behind it. Jim Ross is their lead commentator, and he's considered a senior advisor. Both you guys know who Jim Ross is, right?
Yeah, but I feel bad. Shouldn't he be retired somewhere? Shouldn't we be like? I mean, honestly, like I do. I like Jim Ross. I respect his opinion. This is like Jim Ross, who I'm thinking of, right? Who's had a lot of medical issues in recent years.
Well, you're talking about
isn't the best of health. So I don't. Yeah, I don't know if he should be if he should be sitting behind a desk calling these matches. He might want to just stay in that advisory role. I get that they want to put a face out there. They want to put a name and a voice that everybody recognizes behind the product. Because, again, you hear Jim Ross, you do think WWE, and if you're watching wrestling, your mind just kind of goes there. So you're just kind of like, all right, this is it. Like, so I get why they're doing it. But if you're Jim Ross, when does the paycheck outweigh the health? I mean, eventually, dude, you just kind of got to,
Well, here's the thing.
Take it easy. Enjoy what you got left.
They have YouTube channels that they've basically been using in lieu of basically having a television show. And he did a whole thing with Jim Ross when they signed him. His wife died a few years ago. And yes, you're correct. He does have the Bell's palsy and everything. So this is a guy who still feels like he has a lot to give. He's basically been put out to pasture by WWE. And because they won't use him nearly as much as they used to. But he still feels like he has a lot left to give. And after watching the pay-per-view on Saturday and listening to him, dude, I love listening to JR do commentary. One of the voices of my adolescent years, in my opinion. He didn't sound like he lost very much. I'll tell you this. I mean, he's definitely a lot older than he used to be. But he still sounds every bit as good as he used to. It's like listening to, Star Wars fans, at least in a modicum of a way there. James Earl Jones. Yeah, all right, you hear him now. He's an older James Earl Jones, but that's still the voice of Vader. That's still the voice of Mufasa. He's still got it on some level. So that's what I would say to that.
I don't know if I'm comparing James Earl Jones to Jim Ross here.
Why not?
I don't know, because I don't think he's that iconic a voice. I mean, I think everybody knows Darth Vader. I don't know if everybody's picking out Jim Ross.
To a group of people, yes, he is that iconic. Maybe not to a larger mass audience, but definitely to a select group of people, he is that iconic. Eric, Dave, you want to chime in?
I'm out, guys.
I'm sorry.
I really got nothing for you.
All right. See, this is why I wanted to save it towards the end of the show, because I figured I might get this type of reaction, but I wanted to bring it up. So I apologize. I assure you, we will not be talking about this frequently, unless it gets to the point where you guys are hearing about it, and maybe you guys want to check it out. I am very interested to see how this goes, because like I said, I thought the pay-per-view, I didn't pay for the pay-per-view, by the way. I did not spend $50 on this pay-per-view. But I still got to see it with my legal live stream and everything. It was a great show. There were some lows. This is a startup company after all, so there were some little mishaps or whatever, especially in the early going. But I thought it was definitely a worthwhile show. I've seen some WWE pay-per-views over the last 5-10 years. And to me, this was better than all of them that I've seen. So I think it's worth it. I think the shows should only get better, and I look forward to seeing what happens when they come to TNT TV in October, I believe, is when it comes up. So I hope at some point you guys get intrigued enough to want to check it out. That would be the last thing I say about that. Anybody got anything else? Dave, I'm going to give it to you so you can come back to us. I know you're out. Come back in.
I'm done, Mike. I got nothing else for you, man.
All right. Eric, you got anything else?
Watch the NHL. I mean, enjoy the playoffs. Enjoy what you can left. Stanley Cup Finals. Let's go Blues. Other than that, Yankee baseball. Hopefully, they're bottom of the ninth, losing 5-4 right now. But yeah, no, that's about it. Watch some hockey. The Warriors are gonna roll, and till next week.
All right. Well, one last thing. Does anybody care about all the drama that has come out about the Los Angeles Lakers front office when Magic Johnson was there? Because apparently ESPN did this big expose on what was going on. And Magic Johnson apparently acting like a tyrant and abusing employees. Anybody got any thoughts on this one? Dave?
All right. Look, I honestly didn't want to bring it up just because I thought we all agree we're sick and tired of talking about all the drama and crap and just want to talk about sports themselves. But I did find it really funny that the GM, what the hell's his name?
Rob Pelinka.
Rob Pelinka told a story while The Rock was visiting the team facility of how committed he is to his players, and he got Kobe, saw The Dark Knight, and told Rob that he really wanted to have dinner with Heath Ledger, because he got so locked into his role, and he wanted to talk to him about how he did that. And Rob Pelinka said that he set up the dinner, and Kobe was so thankful and used it in the game against, I think, the Knicks. And Heath Ledger died 6 months before the movie even came out. So somehow Pelinka set up dinner with the person that wasn't even alive anymore.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh, that's terrible.
Wow. That's a lie. He told that lie in front of the whole team while The Rock was there visiting. You just can't get better than that.
And Kobe still stayed with the guy.
Well, I don't think Kobe knew. I get the feeling this will be the first time Kobe heard he told this story. Kobe wasn't on the team when he told this story.
Wait a minute. So I'm confused here. So this happened at the time, or Pelinka just made this story up?
Pelinka made this story up.
What? Wow. Okay.
It was in front of a team. It was in front of the team. The Rock was there doing like a motivational speech, and Pelinka was trying to sell the team on how much he backs his players and what the things he'll do for them, and that's the story he told.
Huh. So who's the guy who stood up and said, how did you set him up with Heath Ledger when he was already dead? Who's the guy who said that?
I get the feeling nobody connected the dots at that time.
Wow. Eric, any thoughts?
I mean, that story is pretty much the epitome of the Lakers front office at this particular second. It's all just one big lie. I don't necessarily believing he was a tyrant, but he's probably a guy who's a boss who's going to come in and do some boss things. He's a new guy in town, and he's going to come in and probably be not the nicest guy to the old staff that was there. Maybe he wanted to change some things. Maybe he wanted to do things different. Kind of feels like that's what he wanted to do, and they weren't letting him do what he wanted to do, so he left town. He has better things to do with his time and money. I told you guys that a while ago. Magic Johnson didn't need the Lakers. The Lakers needed Magic Johnson. Instead, they screwed themselves.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And this story is indicative of that. Why would you lie to a room full of players when you can easily fact-check that story and realize it's a lie, and now you've lied to The Rock, now you've lied to players, and the more that story gets out and gets told, the funnier it gets, the more it makes Rob Pelinka, it kind of shows his true colors. So, I mean, it's just kind of the reason that I don't think anybody's really going to go out there and team up with LeBron this offseason. I think he's just more into the film, more into his production company than he is necessarily winning another title or bringing a title to the Lakers. If he did, I think it would be great. If not, he's making max money and, doing everything else he wants to do on the side. So, I just don't see anybody else necessarily signing up to play with him there. I don't know. It just seems like a big train wreck there. It seems like what the Knicks were a few years ago, but I think they're starting to turn a corner. We'll find out later this summer. And I think this is more of the Lakers kind of slowly becoming the Clippers. Could be a changing of the guard for a little while there in L.A. Until I hear rumors of Steve Ballmer taking the team to Seattle, though, possibly. So I don't know.
Really? I hadn't heard that.
I think if he couldn't get a new arena built or something, I think he might be threatening to take him out because I think or are the Clippers getting their new stadium? I'm not sure. They might have just been using it as a ploy.
I had not heard anything about them even trying to get a new stadium. So that would be interesting.
I don't think they like sharing a building with the Lakers. I don't think billionaire Steve Ballmer likes sharing his things.
Well, I mean, outside of that, I mean, why would you if you're the Clippers? I mean, you no matter what the Lakers do, no matter what the Clippers do, Clippers are always going to be second fiddle to the Lakers, unfortunately. It's like the Mets and the Yankees. I'm a Met fan, but I'm a realistic Met fan. We're always going to be number two to you guys. So I get why no one would really want their team to be in that position. So, I don't know. I'm not saying I want the Mets to move. I'm just saying I understand. So, anyway. All right. I think that'll do it here for us tonight, though. I want to thank both you guys for coming to the show tonight. Dave, I know you're battling sickness, and Eric is battling the elements where he is. So I thank you both for coming in. Last words. Dave Hastings.
Always a pleasure.
All right, man. Glad to have you back, brother. Eric Tressler.
Stay sweaty.
Stay sweaty, my friend. Yes. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I am your host, Mike Aguilar, and we will see y'all next week.
Have a good one, guys.
You too.